morning, good evening. Hello to everyone. I am Ludmil. I am a DevRel contributor at DevHub. I am very happy to see you all around on this tools community call meeting. That's number 3. If you haven't attended one of these sessions before, those are informal sessions that we get updates or share our work into the tools, tools part of the ecosystem. Today we're having wonderful guests. So we are joined by Guillermo. We are joined by Sergio, Vlad. I can see Zahid and Jazz and a lot of people who are known names into the ecosystem. So today we are going to be talking on AgoRap, LedgerApp, and I guess also from LedgerApp from AgoRap is around. We're going to be talking on the Near API RS, Near Relay, the updates on the SDK RS Rust stack for version 5, and the Near Rust stacks in general. So if Ethan is around, Ethan, are you around? I suggest we start with AgoRap, which is an awesome learning platform that is building on Near. So Ethan, if you want to start out, take it away.
Yeah, my co-founder, Ricardo, is actually going to do the presentation. He had to shut down his computer, but he's going to be logging in a minute.
Okay, that's
maybe possible
fine,
the next person goes and then we can go after. Would that be great?
Yeah, for sure. Are we going to be hearing from LedgerApp then, if there is around?
That must be me.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So then I'll start just presenting my screen.
Awesome. So you'll be presenting the updates from the LedgerApp that you're working on, correct?
Yes, I'll show one scenario in the app emulator. I hope it will be short and most illustrative of the changes made.
All right, awesome.
So can you also provide the context? What is this app about? Yes, I'm not sure if everybody is aware.
Okay. I think it will be more or less apparent from the. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, you can. Okay, so LedgerApp is a tiny embedded app for Ledger devices, which I use to basically sign signatures for many various blockchains. They claim to provide high level of security by narrowing the functionality of the device to these signing operations. So it's a very restricted operation system designed specifically for these tasks of signing transactions. So I will just basically run one scenario. I don't have a webcam, and even if I had, I wouldn't be able to show you the tiny screen of the device. But thankfully they have this application they have designed, which runs in the browser and can provide large user interface. So I'm running it against my compiled version of the program. Boom. And I'll just open. So can you see this Near app is ready? Screenshot.
Yes, we can.
Yep, we can.
Yeah. Okay. So I hope it's large enough. So the greeting screen is very simple. It has no settings. There's no need to introduce any kind of settings with some blind signing or whatnot. So it's just the greeting screen and possibility to quit. On the actual device, it will quit to the dashboard, where many different apps can be installed for different blockchains, such as Solana, Babylon, I don't know, Bitcoin, whatever. Here it will just close the emulator, so I won't be pressing this button. So I will just play a scenario that I have prepared beforehand. I will play it manually, like emulate sending messages to the device. Yeah, this must be it. Boom. So the basic the main difference from the existing application written in C is that this version can support arbitrary lengths of transactions, so they can be any length. The C version only supports transactions up to 650 bytes, and everything which is greater will be an error for user. Yep. So I've tested it up to like 1 megabyte transactions, and it actually takes quite a while to pump such transactions through this device. It takes about 7 minutes to pump 1 megabyte transaction through it. Okay, so I'll be emulating what the flow would be of sending such a transaction. I could have done it with a test, so all the messages would be sent automatically, but probably that wouldn't be so illustrative of what happens. So first header comes in, it contains the header of the transaction. There are a few fields shown: the signer of the transaction, the receiver of the transaction, and total amount of actions. So this is the next big difference from the existing app in C. It doesn't handle batch transactions with multiple actions normally. It doesn't display any details of what is being signed at all. The Rust version can support like arbitrary number of actions. It can be whatever large number which fits in unsigned 32. Okay, so I press continue to actions. Boom. The first APDU packet, it contained first action also. This is create account. So this flow is like a stress test that I've automated in Python. It basically tests all types of transactions that are possible currently with Near. So create account doesn't have any kind of payload. I can abort at this point, and user won't sign anything, but I choose to continue. Boom. So the client receives response, and the device displays that it wants more input. Boom. So second action is like delete account. It has one field, beneficiary ID. Here, this description of beneficiary identificator. For the test purposes, I've sent the beneficiary ID string larger than 64 bytes. It can be arbitrarily long, but in real scenarios, it probably very rarely the account ID very rarely will be longer than 64 bytes. So this is the beneficiary ID. Boom, proceed to next action. So the third one is delete key. It's delete key with some ED 25519 curve. This is the parameter value. Boom, we can proceed to the next one. This is once again delete key, but with some value where the SecP 256K1 curve. It's also there. Boom. Next action. So it displays the receiving transaction and it has sent a response to the client. And it wants more. The device wants just the next chunk.
Can you maybe, for those of the people who are watching or who are attending this call, give an overview of what the LedgerApp is actually doing and like what is that that you're currently building on? This is the new version or like alternative version for the Ledger device supporting Ledger devices, correct?
Yeah, the basic difference with the existing application, first reads the whole transactions, full forms, writes it to a buffer in the device's memory, and after that it hashes it with SHA-256, and after that it signs the hash obtained and outputs the signature.
Awesome.
The last step, so the limitation of CApp, it cannot sign any transaction which won't fit in its buffer like a whole. It won't be able to do that, and it has the limit of 650 bytes, and that's it.
Awesome. Is there like a place where people can contact you or learn more about the project and your app that you're currently building?
Yeah, of course.
Can you drop this in the chat if that's okay, or show it on the screen?
Up near. Boom. Yeah, this is the repo.
If I may chip in, I was helping to drive this initiative since we started to try to improve the things in C app implementation, and we had the recent drama in Ledger app community of impossible to, like, the JavaScript apps on Ethereum abuse the fact that big transactions cannot really, well, any transaction in Ethereum cannot be realistically reviewed on the small screen. So they were just using like approve, blind signature mode to approve anything. And we tried to use the same approach and implement this blind signature for near device. But then we realized that it's going to be banned soon on Ledger devices. And C implementation was really hard to deal with, and we decided to rewrite it completely in Rust to allow the streaming signature process that would allow us to sign big transactions. And it was big transaction of half a kilobyte may sound like a lot, but at the same time, if you have a DAO request, for example, that is usually having quite a beefy JSON that you cannot really fit into half a kilobyte. If you want to deploy a contract, it's usually half a megabyte. So you wouldn't be able to sign such transactions with a Ledger device. You still can use your keys off Ledger or have a different key to do those operations. But we wanted the Ledger device to be able to do all the operations to sign anything on it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I suggest, actually, I also wanted to mention that it's very funny that all the developers, like all of us, have these certain sounds when we're moving around things and like trying to voice over of what is happening on the screen. I love it because I think everybody has like a sound on its own as well. thank you very much. If you have any links to share to your project, or how can people get to know more about it, or how to contribute, I see in the chat that there are also people working on the same problem as well, which is pretty awesome. Since we are like having not really a hard stop, but we'll be mindful of the time, so all of the presenters can join us. I suggest that we move into AgoRap, that is going to be presented by Ethan, I believe, and his co-founder Ricardo, if I'm not mistaken. Ethan?
Yeah. Ricardo is going to be leading, and then I'll be helping out with that.
Awesome. Then, yep. Once again, Ricardo and Ether are building AgoRap. For those of you who are not familiar with their platform, it's basically a learning platform that has a nice IDE, and actually all the educational material that they have is actually pretty awesome and engaging. So let's hear it.
Thanks for the introduction. Can you hear me fine? Okay, so I'm going to present. I will just start with a couple of slides, and then I will jump right into the demo. Right. So first of all, I will give a bit of context about AgoRap, even if we already explained the long story short of it. But what AgoRap is, or better yet, how it started, is that personally, when I started, wanted to learn software development in my teenagers, I felt like the best tools that taught me how to code were tools where I learned by doing. The equivalent of Code Academy or HackerRank or a Hack the Box for pen testing and cybersecurity challenges, which is why I was really craving for a similar product in the Web3 space, especially since in the Web3 space there are so many different tech stacks, SDKs, and different design patterns or domain-specific languages. So the aim of AgoRap initially was being a playground with the Code Academy-like experience that would allow users to immediately out of the box go there and have this plug and play IDE that supports smart contract development on as many runtime as possible. And then we found a great partnership with the NEAR because it's quite, from a developer perspective, it's probably one of the best blockchains with which we have worked so far, and we are developing more and more content there that we hope that some of you in this call will soon join. Because what AgoRap aims to be is not just being the sort of Code Academy, the Web3 space, but being a marketplace where people can create their own challenger and create their own Web3 courses, interactive developer courses, and have this sort of Udemy type of a content creator economy where users not only go there to learn or to compete in coding challenges, but also to create valuable content and have this sort of cross-pollination effect across the blockchain ecosystem where we onboard as many developers as possible, not just from the Web2 board, but also within the Web3 ecosystem. So as much cross-pollination as possible between Ethereum and NEAR and all the other chains. And speaking of cross-pollination, this is a picture of our team, and when we started working on the product, it was in 2023. We all come from a fairly diverse background in terms of skills. So I'm Ricardo. I'm the regional founder. Currently, my daily job is in cybersecurity, just cloud security. But previously, I worked as a Web3 developer, specifically as a protocol engineer for LivePeer. And previous to that, I was working as a smart contract developer and full stack developer for Opium Finance, which was one of the very first first decentralized derivative protocols way back when the DeFi summer was a thing. Then we have Ethan, who is the Chief Operation Officer, who has also been leading most of the conversation with the NEAR community, and he's also taking care of a lot of the public messaging that is the bread and butter of also AgorApp, because we intend to, and I will talk about it a little bit more later, but we intend to increase the rate of our developer reach out activity, not just online, but also in a more grassroots fashion. And then here we have Peter and Roman, who come from a more hardware-oriented background. They worked on computer graphics for a hardware company that was developing cameras for high precision footage for brand advertisement. And then here we have Suki, who is our Python Django developer, and mostly takes care of the backend. So our current product. So as I mentioned, the current stage, the life cycle of the AgorApp product, what we have, and I will show it, is very much a desktop-focused Code Academy type of experience. And we have one type of offering that is more tailored for the end user, where you can go there and you can really have a seamless experience if you want to learn how to do smart contract development on NEAR. And one that is more tailored for businesses, which is our embeddable IDE. Which we hope that many protocols in the NEAR ecosystem will start using as well once we will polish our infrastructure. But what the embeddable IDE is as the name suggests, just a way to make your documentation more interactive, because one of the friction points, at least for me, whenever I just skim through some documentation, is that the information retention rate is quite low. So we just making it, turning static code snippet into something that you read and immediately code is something that personally I feel like much more compelling as a learning and documentation proposition to the developers. And something that we recently launched, but we did it only for Solidity, but we're planning to do it very soon for NEAR as well, are competition, our coding competition challenges. Specifically for a theme, there are gas golfing challenges, and we want to launch the same very similar concept for NEAR as well, where we are on a bi-weekly basis. We are launching a new competition, and the users who implement an algorithm that is the consuming the least amount of gas, so that is the most efficient from algorithmic perspective, is rewarded with a sort of prize pool, and we will soon gamify the mechanics of it a little bit more. But for now, we are subsidizing it with the fund.
Hey Ricardo, maybe
Yes.
to just quickly show the demo, because we already passed 10 minutes.
Oh, thank you. So as I was mentioning, here we are on AgorApp, just the live playground, and so the course that we currently have for NEAR is quite basic. It's just an introduction on how to declare a contract, and then the main constructs, and how to declare variables, and what is the concept of state, and some of the main data structures. But like here, for instance, if we don't implement it correctly. So here, we are actually running integration and unit test against the code that is submitted by the user. So it's not just doing string equality, which is, for instance, what our predecessor CryptoZombie was doing. So we are try to mimic the developer experience, at least so far as smart contract development is concerned, as much as possible. And here there is a walkthrough of some data structures and, for instance, collections on Near, and yes, that's pretty much it. Something that I'm really looking forward to, and I would love the feedback of the community, is well, that we will soon launch security smart contract security challenges, where you will have to hack a contract, basically a bit similar to hack the box in the Web2 space, and gas golfing challenges, where you will have to implement the most gas efficient solution for a specific smart contract problem, of, I don't know, sorting algorithm or some mathematical problem. And I would like to see as many of you participating as possible, because we will also start allocating more funds there. So that's pretty much it.
Nice, thank you. I have a question for you. How do you source the actual course materials? Because it doesn't seem to be like just a copy paste from the current Near documentation. It seems that you have been rewriting them from scratch, and they're of pretty good quality. So how do you source those?
It's a learning experience for us as well. As I mentioned, I personally come from the film background, and the person who was leading, however, the development of the Near course was just from the Web2 space. So we just went through the documentation. As I mentioned, Near actually has a great developer experience, so it's much more pleasant than other blockchains that we had to deal with. So there was surely much less friction, but then it's a matter of like learning first, and then assimilating it, and then breaking it down in a way that we feel like we would be able to understand it ourselves.
Yep, thank you very much. And like it's also quite into I see that like the course that you're actually making, they're using JavaScript to actually write the smart contracts, but not necessarily. It doesn't they do not necessarily need to be in Rust, because you're teaching the concepts on Near, and that if for people who want to get like more involved into development, then they can translate this knowledge to Rust. So that's really cool. I see that Zahid from Jutsu has raised the hand. So if you have a question, go ahead, Zahid.
Yeah, so like my question is, do you simulate or do you run this contract in a container to kind of run the unit test? Is it just a simulation of all this unit test, or actually running the contract and running the unit test?
Yes, we run it locally. Obviously, it's also sandboxed within Docker containers, because we want to encapsulate as much of the user submitted code as possible, because from a security perspective, any code that is submitted by the user is potentially malicious. So there is a security component that we just want to sandbox it, and then there is let's say a more architectural and blockchain component where we're actually like running it locally, setting up in our own.
Locally meaning locally in my user who is learning,
yes.
or?
Yes, exactly. Just on there is just a local test net for each user.
Just to provide a little bit of context, Zahid and like who is building Jutsu, they also provide some learning resources, and they're focusing a little bit more on the web components, I assume, but that is not going to be necessarily the case. So I strongly suggested that you two contact, because I think there's a good collaboration that come out. I suggest that if you have Ricardo or Ethan, if you have any other links apart of the one that I shared in the chat, please drop them in the chat so people know how can they contact you. And I suggest that we move over to Guillermo, which is next to the agenda. Guillermo is the main contributor for the documentation. And we are thankful for that. So Ricardo, here you can see the guy in person. So Guillermo is going to talk a little bit about the Near CLI. As you may or you may not know, recently the CLI was updated to version 4, which it did some restructuring. Some of the functionalities were cut down, but Guillermo will talk a little bit about it and see where we're heading.
Yes.
Guillermo?
Perfect. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Thanks. Yep.
Yes, so I have just like, I didn't want to do this, but apparently now I'm having to maintain near CLI. So let me, I will keep this very short so other people also have time. So this is the near CLI that we had. Basically you will run near, right? And you will have like all of these commands and like this is how it was organized. It was doing a lot of stuff and it had like a lot of options and a lot of flags, but this was basically the main, like the most used CLI to interact with the near blockchain. We had a couple of problems with this. The first one is like literally nobody was maintaining it. The second one was that there was a push of an update to the near protocol, and then some of the commands got broken, especially like commands on terms of like deploy smart contracts on what we used to call developer accounts, and yeah, it was a whole problem. So since this was broken and a lot of people was using it, I took on, again, like it's not that I wanted, but I took on like maintaining it. So this was the old CLI, and now if you run the new near CLI, I just completely simplified it, right? Like if you run near, this is all you see. These are all the commands, and these are all the flags that it can run. And the whole idea is, we had a huge near CLI that was doing a lot of stuff. So I basically, and the code was there like for 4 years. No one had, taken the time to reorganize it. So this new version 4.0 is basically focused on reorganize the code so it's easier to maintain, because basically there's going to be apparently only one person maintaining it from now on, which is me. Second, to reduce the scope, because the previous one was doing literally too much, and even had like features that do not exist anymore. Like, does anyone remember the JS enclave? Did anyone get to hear about the JavaScript enclave? Like that doesn't exist anymore. It actually existed for 2 months, I think, but we had commands for that in the CLI. So yeah, I reduced it, reorganized it, cleaned the interface, and hopefully the whole idea is that we expect this to not be like, to just be maintained in the sense of like, if anyone finds a bug, please let me know and I will maintain it. But we would like to not add any more features, and even in the future, maybe just completely deprecate it, because DevHub is actively working on the new version, which is near CLI RS, which is based on Rust. And yeah, so hopefully you can use this one and see it now, and there will never be a version 5.0, I hope. But yeah, so again, like this is completely compatible with the previous version. 95% of the things I migrated them. The only thing it doesn't have right now is LedgerApp support, which maybe I will bring back in. Now we are on version 4.0, 4.4. Maybe I will bring it back in like 4.0.5, but I have to find time for that. But yeah, and it fixes a lot of things. In the previous one, there's like a command that was never working, which is like, if you want to call something, let me see if I have an example. To be honest, I didn't prepare. With network ID mainnet. Yeah. So before, this was never working. Like, to ask it to use another network that it was not testnet, you had to somehow, you need to like export some variables for the environment. That was annoying. Now that it's fixed, the only new thing is that now you can create an account, and you can basically say, like, I don't know, some account that doesn't exist. Most probably this exists. And you can just use a faucet. I think it's like that I created. And this will now create an account for you automatically. Let's see if it works. Yeah, there. So now this some account that doesn't exist, testnet, now exists. Before near CLI, the previous near CLI did not allow you to do that. I don't know why they never implemented that. And those are the biggest changes. So everything organized, reduced, fixed, and hopefully never to be seen again. Questions?
Great job.
Yeah, thanks. It's also worth noting that the new CLI also got renamed some functions, I believe, that now follows a little bit more closely to the Rust version, if I'm not
Yeah, but
mistaken.
they're not compatible with the previous one because there are aliases everywhere.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that was really nice. Thank Guillermo for the updates. I have put the repo if anyone, and also the release notes if you want to check on all the entire changelog and see, yeah, and see what's going on, or if you want to contribute, take off with from Guillermo. He would be sad. I am sure he's not going to enjoy it as much as he said. Right. So next in the agenda, it's Jazz. He's going to present something that they've been working on. This is the near API REST. So I believe this is like a new contribution. I believe that it's super recent. So yeah, Jazz, if you can take it away and present, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Then take it away.
Yep. I will just share my screen. Hold on. Alrighty. Just came up with these slides just now to sort of explain this. But essentially, all of us might have heard about the Near API.js, the JavaScript library that helps you interact with the Near protocol. The most beloved, I would say, the API library we have. I think this Near API RS project sort of stemmed from discussions in the Near Dev Telegram group, where we were just discussing that is there a Rust alternative as well. I was writing a JavaScript server to sort of do something, and I was wondering if there's a Rust API library as well, etc. So that's when I started looking into it and sort of thought it might be a good idea to start writing this. There were earlier attempts to write this as well, and they didn't go anywhere. So we gave it a shot, and it's looking good for the 2.5 weeks that we have spent doing it. You can scan this QR code, by the way, to look at the GitHub code. So a sort of simple introduction. Right now, the most sort of high level Rust library that you can use to write Rust code to interact with near chain is actually a pretty lower level JSON RPC client right here. And it exposes a lot of functionalities that might not be very easy to understand for developers who have just started writing code on Near, etc. In fact, the Near CLI RS and the Near Workspaces RS also use the Near JSON RPC client. Pretty neat library. I went through it while creating this, and it's pretty amazing. Anyway, so all of us know about the Near API.js. This project that we just wrote is just a Rust implementation of the same. So I think it's been 4 weeks since I first mentioned it in the Telegram group. And I think in the last 2.5 weeks, me and a bunch of other contributors, we have written some parts of the providers create and the transaction creates and the accounts create. So we now have a full sort of flow that runs as an example where you can create a sub account using this new Rust API. So just to sort of show a simple comparison of how you write create account with the existing JSON RPC client, and then how you can write a create account example with the Near API RS that we just worked upon. Hold on. So I'll quickly show the current way of so if you use the Near JSON RPC client, this is what you would have to do right now. Mostly if you look at the main program here, initialize your signer and everything, get the new account that you want to create from the user, and then you sort of create this transaction where you are mentioning the different actions that you need to create a sub account. This is where it gets more technical as well. Like the devs have to know what all actions you have to combine to create a sub account, etc. And then which packages, near core packages, these actions come from, etc., etc. And then there's also you'd also have to write something for getting the nuns from the chain, and even with that, you have to know the specific RPC request, etc., from the JSON client, which we feel like is very low-level details from the chain, and it gets difficult, and the code is not that clean if you want to write it. I mean, it's clean enough, but it's very lengthy, so to speak. So we thought, why not have a Rust library which exposes similar functions like the JS API? So this is a simple example for create account that works right now. It does the same thing in the beginning. You initialize your signer, you get the account ID for the new account that you want to create, sub account you want to create. It sets up the provider, sets up the signer, and then this is where the new APIs come in. You create a new account from the accounts create, and then you call the create account function on this, and then you get the result from the chain that the account is sort of created. So we have created most of the functions that the JS provider supports right now in the Rust provider. I think we have implemented maybe 5 out of 12 or 18, I don't know. But we are probably adding more and more functions here. Then we implemented the transactions and we implemented the accounts to sort of make this full flow. The JavaScript library implements a more sophisticated key store, and there's no alternative of that in the Rust. So we're writing something from scratch. The signer is also slightly different, so we're writing that as well a little bit. The accounts create right now does not have any other function other than the create account itself. So as we contribute more, we'll be creating more functions, which is transfer and then function call and all the other APIs that the JavaScript package, accounts package also support. So more or less, this is it. I would say we could do this in 2.5 weeks. We are hoping in the coming weeks we contribute more, etc. So we will keep adding more functions to this. I hope in a few weeks we would be in a good shape to publish the crate. I know Near API is already owned by the Near team. Hopefully we could publish to that if the crate is polished enough. Start writing more examples and documentations ASAP so that people can use this. As a part of this activity, I sort of figured have 3-4 open source Web3 contributors, introduce them to Near, and one of them already contributed to this library. So we are also onboarding more users to the Near ecosystem with this project. And hopefully we'll be reaching out to some funding nodes in the ecosystem, NDC, DevHub, BuildDAO, to sort of start compensating the contributors as well. So this is a small introduction of what we did recently. Scan the QR code, check out the library on GitHub. I will share the link in the tools group as well. The README isn't that great, but there's a PR pending for updating the README. So hopefully you guys can check it out. But yeah, awesome. That's it. Any questions, please?
We can move the questions to the chat. I won't let me see if there are any. Apparently not much. I have one. Are there any other libraries that are currently doing the same, or are you are you alone in this space at the moment? I see that some contributions to the documentation would be needed for this package, but obviously this is brand new package that you've been just working on the past week or so. But yeah, I look forward to actually use it a little bit to my personal projects, to be honest. Yeah, so any other questions for Jas, and then we can move to Sergio. By the way, as it happens, pretty much on every session we are taking it along, thanks to our active community. There are plenty of news and updates to be shared. We are overshooting, but please stay a little bit longer if you can, because that is going to take us and talk about the the new SDK Rust and the nearest Rust tooling in general. I believe also some information on the dev container from Noah is coming up. So if there are no questions, then we can move to the near relayer. That's coming from Sergio. Are you around?
Yeah, I'm here. I'll keep it
Okay,
pretty short.
so I hope I didn't butcher your name. So basically, Sergio is also relatively new contributor to the ecosystem, at least to my knowledge. Pardon me if I'm wrong, but he already developed like an amazing library that abstracts the relaying functionality that we would so much be needing really now that we're heading for chain abstraction and moving forward with the decentralized front ends. And I think that it will allow a lot of builders to actually onboard and ease the usage of their apps thanks to your library. So if you can share it with us, we'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, cool. Hey guys, so yeah, I've been working with Near for a while with Mint-based, but I've now started contributing on my own to the ecosystem. I've been trying to do that in the last month, and I started with this library. So I've built a ton with like meta transactions, and it's always been kind of like hard to understand. There's very little documentation, although that will be worked on. And yeah, it's very hard to understand like the different pieces you have to put together to get everything to work. So my idea was just to create this simple library to be able to wrap everything and create a simple API that even like a beginner developer could easily use. So yeah, you could just install this like client library for relaying, and this exposes two methods. This method for relaying transactions, where you can just like pass an action and a relayer URL for an endpoint that allows relaying, and you can use any relayer because they basically all follow the same kind of structure. Or you can use this create account method, and the create account method just uses the biometric library that sends a request to relay to also create an account. But the most important one is the relay transaction. This is what makes it simple. So I can pass any action into here, and I can easily get my transaction relayed. On the other end, we have a server library as well. So I can just npm install near relay server, and it exposes like these two simple methods that I can see here, which are relay and create accounts. So by setting up an API with just like two endpoints here, I can enable these two client methods as well. So yeah, you just set these environment variables, you create two endpoints with each of these methods, which is like relay and create account, and then you basically are set to go. So this repository contains like both client and server, and it also contains an example, which is just like a simple next app that demos how the app works. So I can maybe show quickly. This example is still a little bit unstable, but hopefully everything will work. So basically, I'm gonna hit this create account. This uses the biometric library to create the key pair, which then gets created on the API endpoint. Ideally, we would use wallet selector here, but the problem is wallet selector doesn't have the signing method in the standard. So that's a problem which can only be solved by changing the standard. Hopefully that works, and then you'd be able to relay a transaction signed by a wallet. That would be my eventual idea. So I just created the account. We'll check near blocks in a second. Right now, I'm just going to relay a transaction, which is just like a simple demo transaction. I'm not even sure exactly what it is. But yeah, let's see. Transaction relayed. Okay, let's check the account on near blocks. Okay, that was actually surprisingly fast and cool. We created the account, looks like, and we also just like minted a simple NFT. So that's everything I got. I would love to hear any feedback anyone has about the library. I'm gonna be making quite a few changes. I already have a few cooked up that I haven't released yet. So if anyone wants to contribute, anyone wants to use it, I'll help you guys out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that also your project would make a great contribution to the documentation, to the official documentation that we have as well. Because yeah, I am not quite sure of the current state of it, but your solution seems pretty good. So if you can drop the link to the GitHub repo into the chat. See, Gil is all voting up for you. Oh, just for a second, I was thinking that you have like way more hair, but yeah, this was just sparkling stuff. Yeah, as a reminder, like basically, as I said before, we are overshooting a little bit as per our last call. So yeah, we are going to be making this a little bit more often. So we are trying to accommodate pretty much everyone on this post. So as a we will be dropping like a proposed dates for the next call, which is going to be in like aimed for early March. You can vote on these dates into our Telegram group. It's already in the chat, and I'll present the link to it at the end of the call in my slides. And if there are no current questions for Sergio, doesn't look like it, but do check his GitHub repo because it's a very nice examples of open source contributions. So without further ado, let's take it off to Vlad. He is very known person, one of the most known person in our ecosystem, big advocate for Rust and the Rust CLI and the Rust tooling. And Vlad will be giving us updates on the new SDK. So Vlad, take it away.
Hey everybody, yeah, well, I will start with the more top-level problem I see in our ecosystem, which is the bigger picture of what we have here today, and what is the Rust stack, and what in Rust ecosystem there are very famous websites were created in the early days. Are we async yet? Are we some other are we game dev ready? Are we web dev ready yet? So using the same paradigm, I decided to create a series of posts about different aspects in your ecosystem, and posting them on the tooling community on DevHub. So stay tuned, and let me just present you quickly what this high-level picture in my head at least looks like when we are saying like, are we Rust yet? In a sense, yes, but we know that well, there is always room for improvement. But at the same time, I still argue that it's still very hard to get involved unless somebody is guiding you very closely. It's bumpy process here and there to discover what's available and how to deal with it. And so I broke it into different like stages. So when we are talking about like welcome to Near, cool, we already have communities like this one, and we use various platforms to meet people to gather around, but there are still challenges with discovering stuff, and more importantly, feeling well oriented in the space. Some people, even years after, still do not know about some of the communities we have, which is sad because they could have contributed a lot more. On the next stage, once you somehow get through it, you need to get started. And while we have a number of cool examples, a whole organization of those, thanks to Guillermo and Josh working on this most of the time, at least to my knowledge, and many other contributors joining through DevHub, and these days, and also historically being part of Pagoda Inc., contributing to those. We also have great local and online development environment, which I will talk in a bit. And combining that together with CLIs, SDK, and integration testing framework, that is very powerful tool set, but at the same time, I feel like they're not very clearly communicated, articulated, especially if you land in one place, you don't really know how to discover the others and if others even exist. So there are some of the challenges that I outlined here, including the how to, and I actually started this perspective from somebody who has already experience with Rust, Swift, Kotlin, Java, C# type of languages. Then they would be relatively productive with developing conflicts in Rust, but we are not supporting them very well, not meeting them, in my opinion. And then just to quickly go through it, there is a Go production stage where we already have the great tools. We already maybe have built some of the prototype, but then how to make it production ready. This is also still a challenge, and it's bumpy. A lot of people reinventing the wheel, or it requires a lot of wisdom to just sit down, internalize, and think about all those critical potential pitfalls, or in the worst case, learn it the hard way, which we don't want people to do. So I argue that we still have room for improvement in this area, and I outlined some of the potential things where community can help, because it's definitely more than one person effort to address all of these. And what's even more important is to get others invited. And we already, like many of us, I believe, especially on this call, came to Near for a great tech and awesome community. And while we know that it's great, we need to also let others know about it. And I think we can help the communities to self-form, to just guide them a little bit. I recommend to look into this peer lab community approach, which is basically peer-to-peer framework. There is nothing special about it. I was running Rust peer lab back in Ukraine, and I'm considering to do that for Near as well in Vienna. And anybody can really do it. It's just a matter of picking the place. It could be a library, it could be a coffee shop, and just get like-minded people join you and talk about the tech. So this is the high level, and I hope we can polish it more on that aspect. And each of these, as you may imagine, requires even more attention and detail, and diving into SDK specifically for Rust development contracts in Rust for Near. A couple of days ago, I cut the 5.0 Alpha 3 release, and today I'm finalizing the changelog for the whole 5.0 stable release. And hopefully, we'll cut it tonight, and update all the tooling that I know needs to be updated to use this release before his Denver hackathon. So that's the deadline we are trying to hit here. On the other note, so well, it's pretty beefy release. Just to mention it, and it's been a while since the previous stable release. And the main reason for that, we tried to pack many of the breaking changes that we were anticipating, like providing type safety, other major updates and improvements to our dependencies, and also performance improvements and security improvements and better testing all at once. I expect it to be the last beefy update for us, because it's not very sustainable, and it's very hard to maintain. And that's why going forward, all the releases are already automated. So we expect to see releases cutting every week, every other week, with minor changes. And I hope we already addressed all the breaking changes for the upcoming year even more. So yeah, that's understatement to say that it's just beefy. But yeah, well, almost like over a year passed, which is sad to see that we couldn't make it sooner. But we focus on the bright side. One thing that I want to also mention about the Rust stack, I touched based it on the previous call. This Carganier new project template, which will, by the way, use SDK 5 very soon, has been pushed to the finish line. It looks beautiful. It has the quick start guide for those who are not familiar with GitHub interfaces, GitHub approach. You can just use this button, uses as a template. You create a new repo, you give it a name, cool near repo without exclamation mark, go create. And in just a bit, you will have a button right here, create code space on main. And once you hit it, in under a minute, you will have a fully configured environment for smart contract development with all the tools pre-installed, everything ready, and you can already start hacking. I have the environment pre-booted just to save our time here. Let me clear the input. So once you will have it open, you will see the screen and you will already see the files here, and you will be greeted with the where to get started pointers. You start with the code, then you proceed to the testing suite and see, okay, this is how we test using your workspaces, REST, launching the sandbox right here, boom. And then we do Carganier build, Carga test, and Carganier deploy. And that's all you need to get it ready. As you can even do it interactively if you do Carganier, and you can create a new dev account. You choose to generate a random account ID for the sake of our demo, how to generate the key pair. We save it to the legacy keychain locally. We don't have a system keychain here available. It's testnet, boom. It uses the faucet, as Guillermo showed us before. CLI, NGS also learned how to do it. And Carganier and all the Rust tooling knows how to do it even better. So now with this command, we can deploy. This is the newly created account. I'm just selecting it with the arrow keys on my keyboard. No initial call needed. It's testnet. It's legacy keychain that we use to sign the transaction. This is the transaction that's deploying the contract. Okay, we are ready to send. Near CLI is helping us to confirm and never let us down with unconfirmed actions performed on our behalf. So it's a very safe environment. You can always cancel at any point. Boom, we have a successful deployed contract in under 2 minutes, I believe, to testnet. So that is the cool online experience. You don't need to install any tooling on your laptop. Near CLI is also available, so we can see view account, this one, testnet. Now, this is the view account functionality. Cool. And what is the version here? Cool, it's latest. So the even cooler part, which was released just a few days ago, is contract inspect. we can use and select the contract right here, hit OK, and we see all the details about the contract now. So the account, where the hash of it, how much storage it used, how many keys it has, what's the version of the contract, which is pulled from the Cargo toml. And ABI, thanks to Cargo near ABI, we have all the details about the methods that are, so there is a method get status and set status. They use JSON schema to represent the types that they expect to receive. So for example, get status receives a count ID as a parameter. So when you interact with it, you do contract, call function, read only, this contract, get status. By the way, we will add auto suggestion here as well soon. And as parameters, we need to specify account ID as stated here. So account ID, and we specify whatever. Currently, this account is empty, so it would return empty result anyway. But if we would have something set there, we would see a different result. Cool. That's speed run on it. I don't want to take it any longer. I'm happy to answer any questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one. Like, is it able for the dev containers to be embedded into some other products like we had before into, like, for example, educational tools, be it LedgerApp, Jutsu, or something like that? Like, is this container actually self-contained, or like other applications can actually?
Yeah, it's just a Docker container. So if you open, so you can add it to any repo, by the way. You can just copy this folder or just this file. It's pretty simple. So this is the pre-built Docker container with all the tools installed. You can even pull it locally if you want. There is a separate repo. I don't remember. So it's probably actually named this way, github.com. Let's see quickly. Dev container, where you can actually see what's installed there. And yeah, there is no magic there. It's just configuration and adding all the tools into it. The cool part is that when we pre-compile it this way, and deploy as tiny image, then it's very fast to boot the environment and with everything ready, basically. Yeah.
I think this is amazing. The dev containers are amazing too, because like I can take my Raspberry Pi 400 and just like ready to go straight away coding and don't even twist or anything. So I am pretty excited.
Yeah, you don't need any powerful machine. Yeah, if you prefer this environment for your day-to-day life, you can even buy a beefier instance from GitHub and completely eliminate your local devices power.
I have a question about.
Go ahead, Zahid.
So I see the ABI. So like one of the thing that I did like last year, like generating UI from Ethereum ABI. So if this ABI is like can I get the whole schema definition or like?
Yeah. So you actually do near contract, download ABI here, saving it here. Yes, now. Cool. This is the whole ABI. So it's a view function exposed from the contracts. Not every contract has it. You need to compile it with the near SDK res with some parameters. Previously, it was opt-in. Now it's done opt-out. So most of the new contracts being deployed with the Cargo near tooling will enable it by default, unless they would explicitly state otherwise.
Yeah, this will be so helpful, like to generative UI, like the thing that I'm working, like from your contract, we can generate components and then like
Absolutely.
Okay, nice.
Amazing. Are there any questions for Vlad or Vlad? How many people are working on version 5?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is ABI stored on chain?
Yes, this ABI is stored on chain as a function call method. So what ABI does? So cargo near build. It compiles your project first to native binary locally, and calls it to extract the schema definition and store it as a JSON file next to your WASM file. Then it compresses it into the binary and embeds that binary into the contract under a name. When you call a contract, call read and contract AB. No parameters now. So it returns this compressed JSON in return. So it is stored there and you can get it by making a view call. But then you need to decompress it and you can do.
Okay, so this T file gets deployed along with the WASM binary.
It's embedded inside the WASM.
Inside, okay.
So yeah, one last question from Matthias I have in the chat. How many people are actively working or have been working on V5 SDK?
On what?
On the version 5 of the SDK.
Oh, I don't know. Like it's been a while, so I would estimate a couple of dozen people through not very actively. Like the maintainers, I would say it's a small group. It was 3 people from Pagoda initially pushing it forward. Then it was picked up by DevHub, and I was mostly leading the efforts to polish it, helping to get the maintainers. And I would say that we have like a group of 3 people contributing to it more or less actively. But yeah, it definitely needs more like dedicated effort if we want to move forward even faster. And yeah, right. Well, just to pick your interest, maybe you can appreciate the removal of this boilerplate going forward will be replaced with just these near.
Absolutely, like one line remove is.
So this would be amazing, yeah. Yeah, reducing boilerplate is always good, especially when it's not really adding some like automagical stuff and it's basically boilerplate. That's what it is. So it's not hiding something like, very deep implementation of something. Vlad, are there any other updates that you're going to present us, or you're done?
No, that's all.
Okay, awesome. So thanks a lot, Vlad. Thanks a lot of the contributors who are making our life easier and for the better, also with the default ABI by default. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and thanks a lot to everybody who contributed to this project. Meanwhile, breaking news. Jutsu, or like Zahid from Jutsu, would like to make an announcement. If you don't know Jutsu, Zahid was presenting it on our tools community call, previous one. I don't know how do I do this. Maybe the link is here, or maybe it's here. I don't know. But Jutsu has deployed today, I believe, some new features that are introducing breaking changes. But more of these features we'll be talking on the next call. But meanwhile, Zahid will just give us a heads up of what is actually happening, so you don't experience unexpected breakage in your code. Zahid, if you can give us like short heads up.
Yeah, just 1 minute. What we did is we redesigned our landing page, and also we changed our IDE from Monaco to Code Mirror for various reasons. So And we added 2 features. If you go today, you can use one is generating UI from just prompt. It's more like a V0 dep kind of thing where you can build UI just based on your prompt and reprompting. So give it a try. And then we also added a copilot, like GitHub Copilot, but like we are trying to improve it more so that it understand the boss context. Right now, you have to do like if you have a bigger chunk of code, then if you select that and prompt it and say like I want to change the color of this this component, or I want to add a header, so those things are there. So because of that change, if you have a local code, like a unsaved code in your editor, save it first and then refresh. So because then you might lose the local version of it. So that other than that, like everything should work as it is. I don't
Awesome.
hope.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the heads up, Zahid, and like I would look forward to get the full updates, including the Copilot. I'm super curious to see, will this speed up my my JavaScript typing? I would love that. But more on that, I assume, on the next Tools community call.